Hello and welcome to HJR Garage. I'm Henry. So today we are gonna try and restore this rear axle. It's incredibly cold. It's snowing, -3, something like that. So work might be a little bit slower today. However, we're gonna try our best to strip this axle down completely and start cleaning it all up. Basically, in the car is a splined rear axle for wire wheels. All my Frontline modifications need a bolted rear axle. Now the half shaft lengths on those are slightly different, so that's hence why I needed a new rear axle. So this one was from Frontline themselves. However, it was before they did anything to it, so it was just one of their stock ones that they were going to refurbish themselves. So I purchased this off them, and I'm now going to refurbish it myself, but with all their parts. So we need to start stripping it all down, cleaning it all up, painting the actual tube axle or Salisbury axle, and then we can start installing all their bits on it, including the limited slip differential, the hardened drive shafts, the rear brake conversion, everything. Although it don't turn at the moment, so that's not a good start. So this is the axle I've got. I need to take the drums off, the half shafts out, all this pipe work off and things, all the brake lines, the handbrake, the lever and stuff like that. Then I need to measure the lash in the diff, so that I know what to do with the limited slip diff when I put it in, but then I can remove it all. I'm going to leave the pinion bearings in. Hopefully they're okay. If not, I'll have to order some. So yeah, let's just start with the strip down, and I don't even know where to begin really, but I'm just going to get some spanners out and try and get cracking with it. Right, update time. I'm cold. But this axle's turning into a right pain. Everything's stuck on and it's extremely difficult. So I need a 1 5/16 socket to get the half shaft out, which I've not got. So I'm going to get one of those later today from FM Sports Cars, hopefully, in Warrington. So the split pin that holds the axle shaft on is stuck in the axle, in the half shaft, and I can't get it out, which is very annoying. I've managed to hammer the split pin in on both sides so that the nut should just go over it like the split pin wasn't there. I've got new half shafts anyway, so I'm not bothered about them. So yeah, that's the update, and this is where I'm up to at the moment. I've managed to get the drum off, which was also stuck on. I don't think it's helping that everything's frozen as well, but the axle does turn now, so at least I know it's not completely seized. So yeah, tricky times, but we're going to focus on the other side now and try and get the drum off that side. At least both will be in the same position, and then I can get my socket. So yeah, all good. Right, an update. I'm still cold, but both drum brakes and wheel assemblies are off, so all the bearings and everything are off, which is good for now. I still need to split them at some point because I need the carriers for the bearings and stuff, I think. Although I could just order new, I suppose. They don't look in the best nick. So yeah, it's time to kind of strip the rest of the axle down now, test the lash on the diff and all that type of stuff, and then we can start kind of cleaning it up and painting it and whatever, ready for all our new parts to go on. So yeah, progress is being made. So that's what it looks like now. So obviously both axles are over there. They've been pulled out of the diff in the middle. But the carriers with the bearings and the spacers that are all here. Ooh. An Archie hair stuck to me. There we go. So there's like a little cup spacer there. Then there's the bearing, and then there's an oil seal inside here and stuff. So I still could do with getting them off. But obviously that nut's stopping me at the moment. Hopefully I can get that in the vise and yeah, impact wrench it off or something, because the split pins are still stuck in there. So yeah, next up, I need to take all the brake lines off that are still on. Undo these crusty looking bolts around here. And yeah, try and pick through the ice. Right, I've been out and seen Paul at FM Sports Cars and got a socket. So, useful person to know. Now, I don't know whether I need to stick these in the vise, I probably do. But I'm going to try and get these nuts off anyway. One off. Hey, success. So my idea now is I should be able to put this down on the floor, get a piece of wood or something on this bearing and hit that down to release it. That's my plan anyway, because it's still well and truly stuck on there. Bearing in mind I'm not using these bearings. No, it goes against all of my morals to hit a bearing like this. But I have a new bearing. So. Same again with this one. Not even budging. We might have to come up with a new idea for this one. You're drawing me my very green. Now we're going to try and knock it from the top down. I've got a rubber floor, so it should just land on the rubber if it does come off. Let's give it a go. I've got a rubber mallet as well, so hopefully don't damage these threads. Even though, to be honest, I'm not using it, so it's not the end of the world. Well, this is well and truly stuck on. Don't know if it's stuck here or whether it's stuck on the bearing itself. Can't be stuck if it's liquid, right? There's got to be a better way to do this. God, that's stuck on there, isn't it? I think it might be time for a cup of tea and have a think about it. Right, so I've just got back from my dad's house. I went there to try and find a bearing puller, and I've literally come back with every single bearing puller in existence because he's got a little treasure trove of tools and things. So I'll show you what we've got, that hopefully something will work. So we've got this one, a few smaller ones, a big adjustable to use them all with. We've got that full set there as well, which is well used. I think this one came from my granddad's old shop. It's called Horner and Sons in Manchester. He used to do Lambrettas and Vespers and things, but they had loads of old tools and things. So hopefully one of these will get that bearing off. We'll give it a go now. This one will do it. I just need to loosen those off. Now, I would obviously have preferred to put something on the bolts because this isn't going to be the strongest. What I'll do is I'll put it underneath where the bolts actually go, because there's little tabs which should be stronger. So these bearing pullers have got really fine threads, so they can give you a lot of torque. Need something to hold it there because the vise isn't big enough or strong enough. God, that's a lot of force on there already. It's not even trying to budge. Try the old shocker. Oh, it ain't giving it up, is it? There's so much force on that now. The problem is, this is more likely to go than that at the moment. Probably not helping that everything's so cold. I do wonder if all these axles were stored upright so that one side was getting oiled and one side wasn't, and hence one side dried up and bound and got rusty, one side didn't. It's turning easier now. It's coming. And all these tools are probably from the 1920s, you realise. And they still work. Get your arm after a while, that. Does that mean it's loose now? No. Why did it go loose then? It's going loose each time now, so it must be close. There we go. Oh! see all the little bits. The seals actually come off. It should be in there. Make loads of little fragments of something. So that oil seal there should be coming out. I might have to do that with the bearing. But yeah, wow. The move and the threads on this hardtop look okay, so keep it for a spare potentially. We'll see. Right, this is here now. It's clamped up as best I can get it. It's only just on the left hand side, but it's now tight. So I'm going to try and use a little bit of heat and just see if that helps. What a beast of a bearing puller this is. Oh, I made your arm tight. I need to give this garage such a good tidy up as well. Just changed the cam belt on my Volvo and all the stuff's still absolutely everywhere. Everywhere. Concentrate, Henry. Oh. Okay, well we've got that oil. So this is what the metal oil seal looks like. We need this little spacer here. Yes! Yes, it's off! It's absolutely buggered as well now. Happy days. God, I think that had been in there a long, long time. Right, that's me done for the day. I'll be back tomorrow to strip more bits down and hopefully start painting this axle. Yeah, I just need to organise all these parts now so I don't lose any of them. And yeah, I'll be back in the morning, so I'll see you then. Good morning. It's even colder today than it was yesterday. It's about -5, something like that. Great. Today, I'm going to try and focus on cleaning the axle up. So obviously, I got all the bearings, all the axle shafts and everything split apart and things yesterday. I've still got some other bits and bobs to do. So, and buy, to be honest. I need some engineering blue and stuff before I take the actual diff cover off. And there's so much crap on that rear axle that I don't want to take the diff cover off until I've cleaned it all up. So, time to get the degreaser out, wire brushes, etc., and just give the whole axle a really good clean, and then hopefully get some paint on it today. Although, with it being so cold, it might not be the best to paint it today, but we'll see. I'll probably just paint it in some Paul 15, actually. So yeah, I will get on with that now. Right, update time. I'm still cold. Really cold. The gearbox, the axle is as clean as I can get it. I've sprayed degreaser on it, and I wanted to jet wash it, but I can't because it's -6, and not only would it freeze the whole ground, my outside tap is frozen up, so I can't do it. So yeah, wait for that to dry, and then I'm not sure whether I'm going to paint it now or paint it once I've got all the diff and everything out. And it's all apart, which I might do. I'm not decided. But it needs to dry off anyway. So I'm going to get the air gun as well, blow as much of it off as possible. But yeah, that's where I'm up to. so weak, literally hardly any force. And it snapped clean off. So this mount here has just snapped off. That one's okay. But it's incredibly annoying. You can buy these and weld them back on again. I just did not want to have to do that. I've been having to think about what I can do about that check strap pin, if you like. And what I've found are these bolts. This is my new check strap. And you can see this bolt fits really nicely in there. It's slightly smaller than the diameter of the original pin. However, there's not that much movement, and all it is to stop the axle going up. Down too far when it extends over bumps. So it's not like it's constantly getting worn away and in use. It just needs to have the strength to stop it dropping down and be able to bolt on. So my idea is to cut these off and to weld that in place there. Now it should, it's almost perfect size, like that. Now I don't see why that wouldn't work. It saves me buying a check strap pin. And I have spoke to a few people that say, because I'm welding up here, as long as I don't put too much heat into it here, it shouldn't warp the axle or anything, which is what you've got to be careful with heat. But because it's up here, it shouldn't warp it. So yeah, let's mark it all up, cut this one off and weld this in. So what I've essentially done there is mark, when I cut the head of that bolt off, where it'll come to, where I need to start it from. And then I've marked the centre down here of this pin. So I know when I weld it on, I need to line it up with that. So yeah, it's got a little recess for it all to sit into here. I should just be able to get the grinder, cut this off on both sides, and then weld that on. So yeah, try that now. Right, that's all good. So I'll nip inside and just cut the heads off these bolts, and then we can weld them on. Right, so I've got these two now with no heads on the bolts. I've marked it up. Ignore that line, that's wrong. That's the right line there, and that's the right line on that one there. Now that line is where the strap should fit to, okay? And it lines up like that. So I'm now going to weld this in like that, okay? Right, that's nice and strong. So what I could do with is mounting up those straps in the right place and welding on a washer to stop it going too far one way. Well, as you can see by that, they're not particularly pretty, but they will do the job. And that's what we're all about here, doing the job. I didn't have to buy any new parts, so happy days. So yeah, we can get on with, well, probably start putting some metal prep on to convert whatever rust is left. So let's do that now. So it's been about 40 minutes or so. I've just soaked it in water, so I'm just going to try and wipe all that water off now. Doesn't look like it's quite converted as much as I wanted to do. I think it's because of the temperature. So we'll give it a go and we'll wipe it down and see what it looks like. Right, I just had a little tidy up. And I've got the axle inside the front of the garage now. Basically, it's just too cold to dry. I'm freezing, so I need to call it a day for today. Otherwise, I'm going to make myself ill. So I'm going to leave this here to dry over the next few days because I'm in work for the next few days. But when I come back, it should be nice and dry and ready to paint with some Pour 15. And then we can take that diff cover off and have a look inside and start measuring the backlash of the gears and all that type of stuff. Join me in a few seconds time where I'll carry on with this axle. Good morning, I'm back in the garage. It's been a while actually. So since I last worked on this rear axle and this MG in general, I've been to Cornwall for a week and I've done quite a lot of shifts in work. So I'm finally back in the garage and I feel rested from the MG and I'm really ready to crack on with it now. So today we're going to focus on getting this axle prepped, ready to go in the car, hopefully. I don't have that long today though, so I might have to carry on next week, but we're going to get as much done as possible. So I'll show you what the plan is. It's also incredibly cold today, again. So I've got the axle here on the axle stands. So today, it's all dry now. It looks in reasonably good condition, which is good. All the rust is converted, that's good. I'm going to take all these bolts off. Take the back cover off the axle. I want to measure the lash on the crown wheel. I'll show you how we do that. So yeah, get all that off, hopefully get the diff out today, give the axle a paint, and then we'll be ready to start installing all the new parts. There's a lot of old sludgy oil in this diff. Oh, right, let's try and drain the most of this oil out. Not get it on my drive. Right, we'll let that drain for a bit, try and get all the oil out. Even if it is getting blown by the wind. And then we can start to clean it all out, because I need there to be pretty much no oil in there to measure the lash, because the oil will fool me into thinking there's no lash, if you know what I mean, because it'll take up that gap. So I need to make sure the oil is well and truly drained out. So I've just taken this top nut off with the impact gun. I'm not going to strip all this down. Basically, there's bearings in here that have to be pressed together to the correct torque, and I've not got those tools, so I'm hoping that this is good and it feels good. I just want to change this seal here. It's not leaking, so I don't actually have to. It's just something for longevity, really. I just want to do it just to, yeah, make sure it never leaks in the future, etc. So I'm going to try and get this out and clean all inside there up whilst this is just draining the last bits of oil out. I've just snapped that tab that I welded on off. That's great. That's brilliant. Why is it always? It's always one step forward, two steps back, isn't it? Right, this is slowly coming. Even though it has caused my screwdriver to see better days, but never mind. Right, there we go. One very mangled seal out. That was a pain. So now I need to weld this back on. Which I really didn't want to have to do, but never mind. So I obviously didn't quite use enough power last time I welded this, because it shouldn't have snapped off like that. I mean, I did put a lot of force. I put a lot of force through that when I was trying to hammer that seal out. But it shouldn't have snapped like that. So I'm going to put a lot more power into it this time. I'm going to re-weld over the weld I've done. And it doesn't matter how far this sticks out. So I've cleaned it up as best I can. I'm going to tack it now and then remove the clamp and then do a really nice solid run of bead along it. And then I'm going to do the same to the other side because I'm not confident that that's fully welded, seeing that this one isn't. So let's do that now. I've set the welder on the max setting it can do. So we'll see how it goes. Right, I mean, that should hold it. I'll do one more bead there. Now, if that goes anywhere, I don't know. I think I'll scrap the car now. And now I've run out of wire. Right, wire change. I don't know whether it's because I've not done this for a while. Now, I've had quite a few weeks off. And I'm just a little bit rusty, I don't know. But things seem to be going wrong today, so let's try and change that. Carry on this weld and get on to what we were meant to be doing. Right, that should not be going anywhere now. Right, let's try again. First of all, let's just clean these welds up a little bit. That's better. just going to put a drop of diff oil in here just to lubricate this bearing up a bit before I do any of the other work. It's the wrong type of diff oil. It's still a mineral oil, so that's fine. It's just to lubricate this up. There's a little slot here that when you fill the diff with oil, the oil comes up around here and lubricates this bearing. So it's just to give it that little bit of oil now that I've degreased it. Right, I'll go and get the seal and we'll put the seal in this. So I've got the new seal here. I've just cleaned up inside here to give it a nice sealing surface. So that's good. It seals against the outside of this and the outside of this. So it goes over that like that. But I'm going to pop it in here first, then clean up all this, and then pop this back on. And then we can focus on the other side of the diff then. Right, we'll get something to hammer that on with. So I've just got a rubber mallet. Hopefully I'm just going to tap this round until it seals. Now that's home. See, there's no lip there, all the way around, exactly how it was when I took the other one off. Right, well, that's been a bit of a messy couple of hours of work, actually. Quite a few mistakes and stuff. I'm definitely not back in the swing of things just yet. I was going to pop this back on, but I've decided that it would look better if I painted it when I painted the rest of the axle off the axle. It'll let me get to the underneath here. I'll tape up that sealing surface, but paint the rest of it, just to, again, give it some extra life. So whilst, because we're not going to paint the whole axle just yet, I need to get rid of the differential inside before I do that, or I want to anyway. I'm now going to flip the axle back round and see if we can get all that sludgy oil out, and then once we've done that, we will measure the lash, and then remove the diff, and then start painting. So that's the plan. Let's see if this goes to plan. So I want to show you this. So this is me measuring the lash of the gear. The lash is basically the how much movement it's got before it engages. This is the crown wheel, and this down there is the pinion wheel. And you're measuring the lash on the crown wheel. Now there is a mark on the side here that says it should be 8 thou on this diff, which is the manufacturer specs. So unfortunately this gauge is in millimeters, or 0.01 millimeters for each little increment. So 10 of those increments is around about 4 thou. So I'm looking to get a movement of from 0 to 20, or wherever this is, a 20 movement, so 0.2 mil movement. Okay, so I've put the coupling on the bottom here so I can hold this instead. What I'm going to do is I can adjust this so it's at 0, and then lock it down. And I hold this at the bottom here, and then I'm just going to really feel where it starts to engage and where my bottom hand here starts to move. So it's incredibly fiddly. There you go. It's engaging there, you can see. It's about 8 thou still. So the lash in this diff is good. You can see it's going up to 0.2 of a millimeter and back again. So that's good. So that's what I need when I put this limited slip diff in. When I measure the same thing, that's what I need. And that's what these spacers do on either side, which I'll show you when I take it off. You can space these off to increase and decrease the lash, the engagement for the pinion wheel essentially. I've also got some engineer's blue, so when I clean all this up, I'll be able to put some engineer's blue on the new, well, I'll still be using this crown wheel, but when I put all the new stuff in, to check the engagement as well, you want it right in the middle of the gears here. So yeah, we're happy with that. Let me zoom you in so you can see it. You can see that just going from 0 to 20 on there, or about 19 actually, and back again. And so I'm really happy with that. It's good enough to start stripping it down. So we can take these off now, take that out, and then bag everything and label it left and right, because these need to go in exactly the same place to hopefully not have to do any further shimming when we put the new limited slip diff in. So let's try and do that now. I've just done a little conversion here. You can see that 0.19 mil is 7.4 thou. So that's very close to the 8 thou that it said it came from the factory. So I'm happy with that. All the ones I've watched have been about from anywhere from 5 thou to 10 thou. So we're happy with that. So let's now remove this differential, if we can. Get it all out, and then we can clean everything up really, really nicely, get all the gasket off and everything, and paint everything up. And hopefully by the end of the day, that's what we can have achieved. And then I can start installing all the new bits when I'm next up back in the garage. So let's crack on with that now. I've made 2 bags up here, diff left, diff right, so that I can keep all this separate. I've got new bearings for it, so I'm not too bothered about the bearings. But let's hope now that I can undo these and then this diff just lifts out. This is obviously much easier to do out of the car. If you're doing this installation in the car or under the car, it'd be incredibly difficult. So that's out. You can just see the washers or the spaces just in behind there now. Now this should lift out. Just need a little bit of a shock. There we go. I'm trying to keep these separate now, so that's from our right hand side. And that's from the left hand side. We can start cleaning all this up now. Right, so it started absolutely pouring down, so I've moved to this side of the carport. This carport needs a new roof and all sorts because it's the snow did it no good and the weight of the snow warped everything. But anyway, that doesn't matter. I've put the axles back in so that I can have this kind of floating in the middle so that I can do the painting as and how I need to. I need to tape up some of the bits that I don't want to get paint on. And then we can just go for it. I still need to do a little bit of cleaning up, and there's still a little bit of grease and stuff that the paint's going to react with. I need to do a little bit of cleaning up, and then we can just get a couple of layers of POR 15 on this axle, and then the next time we're in the garage we should be able to do the rebuild process. So I'm going to put you on a time lapse, and you're going to see all of that happen right in front of your eyes. There you go. First coat done. As I said before, it's amazing how a little bit of paint just helps. I've painted the cover as well and that little coupling. So yeah, happy days. It has been absolutely pouring down. I think my camera might have got a little bit wet. So if some of those last few videos are a bit blurry, I apologise. It's cold today, as you can tell, well, as you can probably tell. So I need to let all that dry. There's not going to be a second coat today. I'm on a night shift tonight, so I need to go and get some sleep before that. But I think it's been successful. We've removed the diff. We've painted everything up. We've re-welded some mistakes. So yeah, all good. So I'm going to do my night shifts. And then hopefully in between some of the night shifts, if I wake up early enough, I can put a few more coats of POR 15 on this axle. And then when the next time you join me, I should be ready to start installing all the new shiny bits, which I'm really looking forward to. So yeah, join me then. Don't use pour 15, it just reacts over this. The second time this has happened to me. Let it dry and it's just flaking off. It's all reacted. Really crap. Probably because it's too cold, maybe because there was some oil still left in the metal. I don't know, but what a mess. So I've just come back in the garage after 12 and a half hour night shifts, thinking I just need to do one more coat on this axle and then tomorrow would be able to start building it all back up again. Unfortunately, as you've just seen, the paint has reacted with the axle. I don't know why, but it's put me back quite a lot of days now, because now I need to remove all that paint and then I need to try and come up with a paint solution for this axle, which I don't really know, because I thought pour 15, after you use the metal prep and degreased it and everything, should have been fine. But maybe it's something to do with the temperature. Maybe there's still some oil ingrained in the diff. I don't know. In the axle, rather. I don't know. I'll show you what I'm kind of doing. So you can see this paint just all flaking off. So I'm using this descaler to get into all the nooks and crannies, but a lot of it just peels off, to be honest. So they're really frustrating. You can see how it's all kind of bubbled up on the surface as well and looks really crap. What a mess. Well, that was definitely not something I expected to have to do. That's wasted a whole afternoon and another day, really, because I've not got time to paint it tonight, so I'm going to have to paint it tomorrow. So then I've got to let it dry. Oh, these mistakes. So yeah, at least we've kind of, I think it's actually probably now in a better position than it was before we painted it in the first place, because of that descaler and that wire wheel on that grinder has taken a lot of the scale off, the rust and things that maybe didn't quite get converted when I did the rust conversion and stuff. So if anyone knows why that happened, let me know. I'm guessing it's just an old axle that's soaked in a lot of oil over its lifetime. That's my guess anyway. I need to go somewhere tonight and pick up some heavier duty paint or something, I don't know what yet, to paint this axle in. Maybe even like an acid etch primer and then a paint or something. But I'll do a little bit of research on that, and I'll see you bright and early in the morning. Well, not too early, because I've just done 4 night shifts, but in the morning at some point, to carry on with this axle. And hopefully we can make some decent progress tomorrow, so I'll see you then. Good morning, I'm back in the garage. So today I need to, well, I'm going to paint this axle again, but I've decided to change my tact a little bit. So I'm going to give the garage a massive sort out, because it's stressing me out a little bit, because everything is absolutely everywhere. I'm going to sort the garage out. I'm going to get the MG out of the garage, turn it around, drive it back under the carport. I'm going to get the axle in the garage, get it all nice and warm, and paint the axle in there. And then I can move the MG back in the garage, and because it's pointing with the back end out, it'll be nice and easy for me to remove the old axle and jack the new axle in place when it comes to it. Now that needs to be done anyway, so it might as well be now, and I might as well make use of the garage space while that's happening. So I'm going to do that now. I'm not going to film it, I'm just going to get on with it. Wow, that feels better. So the axle is in the garage. I need to mask all that up now, and then I can paint this and then we can let it dry, and then hopefully we can start installing, finally, the limit slip diff and the hardened drive shafts and the brake conversion kit, which would be lovely, wouldn't it? So let's paint this up for the second time and hopefully make it a success this time. Well, the axle's got a couple of coats of primer on now, so that's good. I've been sorting out all the other parts and things that I need to pop into this axle and rear suspension so I can kind of set up. But right now, I'm going to start with the crown wheel from the old diff, put it on the limited slip diff. So I'll turn the camera around and show you kind of what I'm going to do. So there's the limited slip diff. It's a Quaife one. It's not a clutch one, it's a gear type one. I can't remember actually what it's called, ATB or something. Anyway, it doesn't require any special oil, just a normal gearbox oil for this one. If it's a clutch one, you need limited slip diff oil. But this one doesn't. So I've drawn around the outside of this just to give myself a witness mark so that when I take this off this one, pop it onto that one, I can get it roughly in the right place. Because when I actually put this inside here, there we go, inside there, I'll have to run a dial gauge around the edge of here to make sure it's all concentric. So I'm going to loosen all these off with the Dakar, pop them back on here loosely, just so that they're tight enough so it doesn't move around, and I'll be torquing them up when it's inside the housing. So I'm going to dack these off, pop the ground wheel on there, and that's one less thing to think about. There you go. The crown wheel is on the limited slip diff. Now, it was an interference fit, which I wasn't expecting, to be honest. I thought it would slide on, and then that's where you had your adjustment to check its level, but it was an interference fit. It needed pulling on with the bolts. Although it does all look like it's concentric, I don't think there's going to be much movement in that when I come to move it on, but I'll still check it is concentric. The next job is to put the bearings on this diff. I've already checked that the half shafts fit. That's something really good to always do because you never know, there might be machining error inside a diff or on the half shaft or something. So I've checked the new half shafts fit, which are here. Now I need to get the bearings on. Now I have no press. So I'm going to try and do something without a press using physics a little bit. Is it thermodynamics? I don't know. I'm going to heat up the bearing in the oven. As that bearing expands with the heat, it should be easier to knock it on with the hammer and get it to fit. It would also help if I could get the diff colder, but I'm going to try this first. If it doesn't work, then I'm going to have to go and find a press somewhere. But let's try this way first. So bear with me whilst I just go and heat the bearing up, and I'll be back in a minute. So this bearing's been heated up in the oven. It's just warm, it's not like too hot, it's good. I'm just hitting the inner race here. A few millimeters to go. It's going on nice and level anyway. It needs to go a couple more mil, but it's gone below the level of that, so I'm going to have to get a punch. That's close now. Right, I'm just going to get a proper hammer now, just to check the noise, make sure it's definitely all the way home. When I say check the noise, it'll go from like almost like an open noise to a really closed noise, which hopefully you'll hear. You hear that? Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's definitely all the way home now. Time to do the same with the other side. Right, time for this next one now. Did you hear the tone of the hammer kind of change? Right, I'm happy that that's all on. And bearing in mind what I just did, don't touch the roller bearings. I've labelled these up because obviously you don't want to mix these up because they're machined together. So I'll put a C on that for crown wheel side, and there's nothing on this one. So yeah, happy days. That's all done now. So at least that's one less thing to think about when we come to the reassembly. That went well. I was a bit nervous about that one, but it worked. Heating them up definitely aided it. I don't think you'd have got them on without a bearing press without heating them up like that. So now we can carry on with painting this axle as the primer's now all nice and dry. So I'm just going to spray it with gloss black Halford's paint. Do a couple of coats of that, maybe even 3. And then we can start fitting all the bits once that's dry. Well, that's taken quite a few hours in this cold to paint, let it dry and paint again. Then I put some lacquer on it as well, just to give it that glossy look. So yeah, I'm glad I've done that. It looks far better than the Paul 15 would have done on its own as well. So yeah, I'm happy with how it's turned out. But I need to let it dry completely overnight so that I can start rebuilding it tomorrow. So I will see you bright and early in the morning. Good morning, back in the garage. All the axle and everything is dry. I've already put on the pinion coupling. I've not torqued it yet, I've just finger tightened the bolt. But we can start with the rest of the kind of differential, limited slip differential installation. Yeah, not much more to say really. Let's just start installing all these new parts onto this axle. This would be a really good time to mention Frontline cars, who have helped me out with several parts for this MGB. Don't forget to use the discount code FrontlineXHJR if you want any upgrades for your MG. Right, everything in this axle is nice and clean now. I've thoroughly cleaned it all out, which is good. So now we can pop the diff into place. I've made sure this bearing's nice and clean. I've tried my best to clean it out. So that's good. The pinion seal isn't leaking either, which is good, even though that bolt's not fully tightened up yet. So yeah, let's put the spacers in and drop the diff back into place. You can't see this, but I wrote all my torque settings on my whiteboard. So you've got diff bearings caps between 60 and 65 foot-pounds of torque. Now this is slightly fiddly to do on your own. Make sure everything's clean. There we go. That is all installed for this bit. So what we'll do is put these bearing caps on loosely. But yeah, we're not going to torque them into place just yet. These all look in really good condition. It's good. Chamfer to the outside. After I've tightened these up, we need to measure the lash again. Make sure it's still 8 thou. And then we need to measure, we use engineering blue just to make sure that the contact patch on the pinion bearing is nice and central. On the pinion bearing, I'm saying all the wrong words. From the crown wheel to the pinion wheel, we've got to make sure that's nice and central on the crown wheel here. They're all just nipped up. That turns, so that's a good start. So let's set up the gauge now to measure the lash. I've moved the camera around a little bit just so you can have a better angle. You can see that's set up at 0 now. It's quite hard to keep there, but I'm going to hold, see what I mean. Get that back to 0. Hold this pinion still. It's about 15, I'd say now. Right, so I've just done some more checks, and you can see. So I'm going to go for. I'm going to say that it's 0.15 mil, 6 thousandths of an inch. So my original was 8. Anywhere between 5 and 10, with a bit of research, looks like it's good. So I'm happy with that. I'm now going to make sure that this is concentric. So I'm going to move this dial indicator to rub on the back here, and yeah, check that this is all in a line. It looks to me like this point here, it's slightly up towards us. It drops back down there. So I could do with trying to knock that down a little bit and then tighten it up. So this is going to be a long process of undoing these, knocking it around a little bit, try and get it absolutely perfect. Although what it is at the moment is quite good, to be honest. I'm not too worried about it. But let's try and get it a little bit better. You can't see me because I've zoomed in on this. I've got everything concentric as much as I can get it. It's about 2.5 thou out. That's much better than the kind of 6 thou it was out, so that's good. I've checked the engagement with Engineer's Blue one way, and now I need to check it the other way. So it's fine one way. Check it this way by putting a bit of tension on this as you rotate it. So I'm going to try and do that now. So this way, I'm just putting my thumb in between the gap just to add a bit of tension to it. So I'm lined up with the little white dot that I've got here, so I know when I've done a full revolution. What I'm looking for is a mark that's pretty linear across the whole gear to check that the crown wheel is engaging properly with the pinion wheel. All right, that's one full turn. Looking quite good so far. Yeah, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but you can see blue from there to there. On every subsequent gear, it's also got a mark here and here. Try it a few more times just to doubly make sure. The blue's starting to get on all these other gears now as well, which is good. Again, nice and central. I'm happy with that. Clean this up and then we can put the cover back on, get the half shafts in and things. Happy days. When I tightened this up as well, it also gave me a better backlash as well. It was more about the 1/8 thou that I had originally when I tightened everything up. So there was obviously a slight bit of play in there that was stopping some of that going. So it's good. Right, cover on, half shafts in. We've got a new gasket. Well, I've had 2 new gaskets actually, because one of them came torn in half, but never mind, they replaced it. That was MG Hive. They were quite good actually. You could put some gasket sealant around here. I'm not going to. I'm just going to put a few dabs of copper slip, just because that's the old school way to do it, I suppose. Just keeps the gasket in place. So what you want to do is put far too much on. So when you tighten it up, it gets copper slip on all your nice new paintwork. Doing the same to the cover. And what I am going to do is clean these bolts up as I put them on, so I won't make you watch that. I'm just going to do that. And I'll come back in when I come to torque them all back up again. As you've just seen, I've snapped a bolt in the diff cover, or in the axle, whilst I was trying to put the diff cover on. So I had some brand new bolts, which I found, so I decided to use them. I had my torque wrench set at 60, which should be the right amount. And it didn't click on the torque wrench. It felt too tight and I should have stopped, but I didn't. For some reason, I don't think that torque wrench is quite right. A big torque wrench for a small application, really. So now I've got all these new nice shiny bolts, and then you get to this side and you've got this here. I've snapped 2 stud extractors trying to get it out. So I think I'm going to have to leave it how it is. I can't see another way of fixing that. What a pain. What an absolute pain. Right, let's carry on with some other stuff anyway and get some axles in or something. Right then, I thought I'd give you a little update. I've been just getting on with some stuff whilst I've been getting over snapping that bolt, because that's not a nice thing to happen, but never mind. So yeah, I'll show you. I've swapped all these nuts, all these bolts back for the originals, but with fresh locking washers on. That's my hole there, which I just dabbed a bit of black paint on. They're the bearing spacers that hold the seal carriers, would you call them? I don't know. They hold the bearings in, and I've just painted them up. I've installed the half shafts into the axle, and you can see this little cup spacer here you've got to put on. See the chamfer on there? It's because when you machine an axle like this, it's to add strength to it. It's got like a beveled edge there. If that was a sharp edge, that would cause a fracture point or a weakness point. So you machine it with a bevel like that, and then you put this spacer over it to give you your flat edge for the bearing to sit on. So everything fits inside the diff. It nicely rotates. I don't want to do it too much because it's resting on wood. So yeah, I'm waiting for them to dry, and then I can place the bearings in here. I think I'm going to use them with some longer bolts to force the bearing in. That's the plan anyway. Obviously got the other end of this in a rubber mat as well, so it's not damaging the half shaft at all. These are obviously the Frontline's hardened drive shafts as well, so they're lovely. See, did you hear it change sound? It's all the way home now. There we go. So when we put the bearing carrier on, we can bolt that in to push the bearing into this housing then. Well, I have been cleaning and painting and stuff, basically. So it's taken me a little while, but we're ready to kind of get these bearings home now. So these are the bearing spacers or carriers or whatever you want to call them, really. Basically, like that, they go on the end of the half shaft. So because I'm going to be fitting the Frontline rear brake disc conversion kit, I've got to put these little brackets on here. Now, in the next episode, I'll show you the whole how to put the Frontline rear discs on. But in this episode, just for now, I need to get these on. But I'll recap that in the next episode as well. They give you these longer bolts because obviously these are thicker. So yeah, I'm going to try and get the axle, the bearing spacer thing home by using those bolts to tighten it up, hopefully. If that doesn't work, I'll have to come up with something else, won't I? Right, you can see I've got this spacer on here, or the adapter for the rear caliper. This bit here points towards the outside of the car, a bit of spacer, and towards the front of the car. There's the front of the axle, front of the car. Obviously, I've got the axle the right way around now. So you can see there's a gap here. I managed to get a few threads on the back of the nuts by just hammering a little bit on each nut, bolt head, sorry, just to get it in enough to get some threads on. So now I'm going to tighten these up a little bit at a time and bring the bearing home. I've got the seal in there as well already. So yeah, watch me do that. They all fit nicely. I'm not going to tighten this nut up here yet because I've got a feeling that I might need to do some adjustment and stuff, but that's all good. I just tightened them up until they were tight, obviously. I've not actually torqued them, I've just given them a good educated guess. Definitely tight enough. I'm going to do the other side. You don't need to watch that again, so I'll see you in a sec. Things really aren't going to plan with this axle. This half shaft won't spin when it goes kind of close to all the way in. So I need to take it out and see what's happened. I'm hoping it's not damaged that limited slip diff or something. I'll show you how I'm going to pull that axle out. So I've got the nut on the end. I've put the wheel hub on. I've got a socket there, a socket there. As I tighten this up, it pulls the axle out. So let's try and do that and get this half shaft out and see if it's done any damage or anything, because it was going really tight, so I stopped and backed it off. So hopefully it's done nothing. There's just something wrong alignment wise or something. This is annoying, and I've run out of time today, so I'm gonna have to come back tomorrow and try and figure it out. Good morning, I'm back in the garage. I've been busy this morning trying to figure out what's going on with this diff, and I'm no closer, to be honest. But I have stripped everything apart again, which is soul destroying, but I've done loads of measurements and things to see what could possibly go wrong. And I'm no closer. Everything measures up fine. So, yeah, this is a strange one. So you can see all the limited slip diffs out. I've measured everything up and wrote it down on here. So obviously the diff itself is off-centered, so you've got to work that out. So I've done all that, and the difference, and obviously there's going to be error in my measurements and stuff, but I've got 2 mil out on the differential side, so this side, And I've got on the pinion side 1mm out. So on that side. So they all kind of add up. So there's got to be another issue somewhere that's causing that side to go tight when I'm trying to tighten it up. Right, we've got progress. So I gave up and I spoke to Frontline, and they were fantastic. And I spoke to specifically Ross at Frontline, who obviously assembles the axles for them and other things. But we were talking through what issues I'm having, how there's a gap on one side, etc. And it turns out it's something really, really simple. So I'll turn the camera around because I'll be able to show you rather than just explain it to you. So this is the bearing, and this is the hardened drive shaft and stuff. Now, this here, spacer, is built into this half shaft. So I've put this spacer on when I didn't need to. It's as simple as that. So all this effort and stuff, and it's simply that spacer, which is annoying. But at least I've got the cause of the issue now. I didn't need to take all the differential back out and everything, but never mind. I mean, I should have called them in the first place, really, but I'm stubborn and I wanted to try and figure it out. But you live and learn. So I'm going to knock these bearings back out again, remove these spacers, put the spacers in the bin, and put the bearings back on. And hopefully bolt all this axle back together. Now, I've not actually got very long now because I've faffed about for a long time trying to do this. So I want to try and get these axle shafts back in, reset up all that differential, just double check the lash and everything again. I'm not going to make you watch that again because you've seen it before. It'll be exactly the same process. But I want to try and assemble it all and get to the point where this axle is together with the rear disc conversion plates on, and then that'll be me done. In the next episode, we'll start trying to put the brakes on and all that type of stuff. So, yeah, kind of relieved that was the issue. Let's hope that definitely is the issue. It looks like it is. I'm going to bolt all this back together now. So hitting with the hammer just doesn't feel right. So I'm going to nip over to Paul's at FM Sports Cars and use their press to remove the bearings properly. It's going to be another hour out my day, but it is what it is. So I'm going to nip there now and I'll be back as soon as I can. All right, I'm back from FM Sports Cars. They sorted me out. So the bearings are back on the shafts with no spacers. So let's start the rebuild process now. I do think it's not what you know in life, it's who you know. And sometimes you've got to just have less of an ego and ask for help. And a lot of the times you'll learn from it. So that's what I've done. I've spoke to FM Sports Cars and I've spoke to Frontline, both of which have helped me get this done, hopefully. So I'm going to crack on now. The axle, minus the brakes and the hubs and whatever, and yeah, is done. And I managed to bodge the bolt I got snapped in there and everything else. So I drilled it out until it was just enough. I don't have a tap and I wasn't going to wait for one, so I drew it out just a little bit too much, and I used a long bolt, and I threaded it in, hammered it in, threaded it in, hammered it in, caused its own thread with some Loctite, ultra strong Loctite, and I've created myself a stud, if you like, to put a bolt onto. So although it's not how it should be, it's doing a job now, which is good. Without those spacers on, the half shafts went in, no problem whatsoever. Everything turns nicely. It's all set up beautiful. So you can see what I mean here. I put the bolt in up here, hammered it in, and then used my grinder to cut it off, filed a new thread end into it, and tighten it up. And that is as tight as all the others. So it's doing its job at stopping that from leaking, hopefully. These are on with the new brake caliper mounting points. I've got the oil seal in there. Same on the other end. It turns really nice and easy now. I put some oil in there, so all that lash is taken up. There's no clonk really or anything, which is good. The garage looks like a bomb's hit it. So I need to tidy all that up. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to finish this episode. I thought it was going to go on and on and on. I've done a bit before Christmas on this axle, a bit on the days that I've had in between, and now at the end of January, when I've managed to get back in, I've spent about 4 or 5 days on it. So it's done. All the hard bits, I hope, are done anyway. I need to put the discs on and all that type of stuff, but because I'm sponsored by Frontline and things, I want to do that in one whole episode, so that people who are buying the parts know how to fit them, or at least how to bodily fit them, as per everything else I've seen to be doing at the moment. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this episode. I don't know how I'm going to edit it, whether it's going to seem long or it's not. It was long, but yeah, thank you for watching. Please, as per usual, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and put a comment on there as well. Have you ever had any issues like this where you've just been trying to do something and it's not working out until the moment clicks and you figure it out? So yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you next week.